Should we talk about England? Hello and welcome to Blog of the Net Football Podcast, the World Cup edition, where today we're focusing all on England and Mexico. Wow, where to start? I'll start with my voice. I'm sounding a little bit hoarse, not because I was doing so much shouting in the middle of the night, just a bit of a heavy weekend away. You may have seen me in Malaga showing off football shirts and things. Shout out to my main man Manny, away for his birthday. Yeah, it was a bit of a heavy one. Got back Sunday afternoon, or Sunday evening really, and then stayed up for the England game. Staying up for things at 1 a.m. on a Monday morning. Professional wrestling fan, used to it. Do this once a month, not a big deal. Don't know what you're on about. Also a shout out to Karen. Belated happy birthday to Karen, who lent me this beautiful England 98 away Beckham number. Delighted to be parading around in that. Okay, England and Mexico. Let's start with this. It's one of the most surreal football matches I've ever watched, but it's one of the most intense and enjoyable England matches I've ever watched. It was. You can hear my dog now. It was a good watch, but it was difficult, and as I said, it was very surreal being the time that it was on. Let's look at some data first. We'll talk about some numbers, and then we'll talk about some incidents. So Mexico had 20 shots to our 6, and then when you break that down, you see just how clinical we were in their final third when we worked chances, because Mexico had 12 shots inside the England box. England only had 4 shots inside Mexico's box, but 5 each on target. Touches inside the box, huge for Mexico, 37 to our 14. But big chances, 2 for Mexico, 3 for England. Tells you a lot. Clearly both had penalties each, and perhaps one of the most significant stats of the game was 1 red card, 54 minutes. We'll come on to that properly shortly, but that was hugely significant to the way the game went and unfolded. Some player data. Alvarado, the Mexico right winger, was we've seen in Mexico's games that they build up on the left hugely. 40% of all of their attacks down the left before this game. In this one, huge reliance going down the right. Quinones came off. In that second half was perhaps a bit surprising. So Alvarado put in the most accurate crosses in the game with 5. But he only had a 22% accuracy rate because he attempted 23 crosses in the game. This was a huge thing for Mexico in the game. And again, we can come on to a bit more shortly, but I just don't think this worked. Jules won. Maybe this is where we really see where this game was won and lost. Tied with the most were Gordon and Bellingham with 10 each. Elliot Anderson was next with 7 duels won. Anthony Gordon actually lost the most duels with 11, but being involved in 21 was tells you a lot about his performance and how involved he was as well. Raul Jimenez, I think he won 5 duels and lost 6, so he lost more than he won as well. But just involvement, particularly how much Mexico had the ball as well. And I think, just in terms of how the game went, we started it really well. I think Tuchel throughout got the tactics really, really spot on. But in that early period, it was really important to slow the game down and play at our pace. Don't let Mexico and let that crowd get up ahead of steam. People were saying that before the game, and we allowed that to play out. I thought we were really good with it. We won a lot of fouls at good points, particularly inside our own half, and I thought we were a lot better at that than Mexico. Mexico also tried to win soft fouls, but weren't actually as good at doing it. Anthony Gordon, as mentioned with those duels before, he was really important to that, and it just gave England a bit of space, a bit of time, slow the game down, and then we began to sort of try and build up from the back a little bit, but we were in no hurry. We kept hold of the ball, let Mexico come on to us before that first hydration break, and things were going, to plan, I would think. And then after that, we scored a couple of goals and really turned it on. That first goal is fantastic. It's a good claim from Pickford. It's a brilliant driving run from Declan Rice. Bukayo Saka does really, really well on the outside. I thought Saka had a bit of a shaky start. A couple of moments where I didn't think he was quite at it. And then this was definitely the turning point. I thought he was very good thereafter. Really good hung up ball into the middle after a good run on the outside, and a brilliantly timed run and finish from Bellingham. Lovely goal, just a really good break, and exactly what we wanted and what we needed. The second goal came 98 seconds later, I believe. A similar sort of ish break, but this time more centrally. We picked the pass, and it looked like Kane would maybe set himself and shoot, but he squared for Bellingham, and those were the only two big chances actually created. There were other big chances in the game, but created by individuals. Those were the two for the two England goals, and Bellingham took it well again with a nice timed run. Apologies if you can hear squeaking from my dog. I think she's just a bit excited about what's happened with England in the last few hours as well. Really, really disappointing to concede before half-time. It's not a free kick. Saka concedes the free kick. This is never a foul. They go shoulder to shoulder. Saka is within playing distance of the ball. He doesn't push him. He doesn't. He's not overly aggressive. He leans into him, and the foul is bought, and the referee does buy it. FIFA have been really canny with showing replays or not showing replays of incidents that they think are maybe contentious. Only sort of small ones, of course. Big incidents, it's slightly different. But things like this, where they don't have to show you that this is probably not a foul, they don't. And it was interesting that at half-time the BBC didn't have another angle, a better or closer view of it. A couple of guys in the studio did sort of say they thought it was a soft one. But they only had that original TV angle, and not showing you directly. I just don't think it's a foul. Anyway, it doesn't really matter now, but I just thought it was a discussion point. Canones is not picked up, not well enough. It appears to be Bellingham switched off behind him, but it's difficult to say because there's several England defenders in front. We do have numbers, and you don't know whose job is what, or certainly I don't. So, I am guessing a little bit there, but we certainly switch off. And it comes from a second ball. And given the number of times that Mexico put crosses into our box, it would be really, really important that we don't allow them to have another opportunity from second balls like that. And I can't recall another one, but Canones does well with this one. It's a good finish, and an important goal for them going in at the break. But disappointing from England. It meant it kept us honest, I suppose. But pretty nervy when we'd got ourselves in a really good position. The second half became about game management after the sending off on 54 minutes. Initially not giving us a foul. I thought he looked a good tackle. Once you see it again, he's gone over the top of the ball. He's unfortunate. It's only slightly mistimed. His calf ends up sort of scraping the ball, and that sort of makes him go over the top of it. And he's endangering an opponent, and it is a red card. I thought Jarell Quansah had played really well up until that point. He kept Canones really quiet. I know he'd scored off the set piece, but in open play, down that left wing, I thought he engaged him really high up the pitch. He made him go backwards, and really didn't give him any opportunity to go around him, and won a couple of those duels that they had. So I'm disappointed for him. Obviously, was really disappointed to have to sit and watch us play for 40 odd minutes with 10 men. But unfortunate, but I can't really argue with the decision at all. And from there on in, it was nervous stuff. We got that third goal at a really good time. It's a pump from Pickford down the field. Kane sort of gets a touch on it, but it's not actually the flick on that you sort of maybe think it is when you first see it. But Anthony Gordon's reactions, old Princess Diana, just wonderful running in behind and gets there first. He's just so lightning quick, and he reacts first as well. And England get a penalty. Kane tucks it away, and at 3-1, it just gives us that cushion that we really needed. And that was hugely important. A great moment. Mexico, of course, getting a penalty of their own. Again, on balance, on seeing the replay, you can't really argue that Kane does scrape his opponent's foot. So, yeah, fine. I'm slightly surprised that the VAR intervened. To be fair, the calls at this tournament have been fairly inconsistent. I think at first VAR seemed to be happy to go with the referee's call and not intervene too much, but we've seen, I think since that third round of group games, a little bit more intervention. And once they do intervene and ask him to look at it, unfortunately, he doesn't play the ball. And we've seen England benefit from a couple of penalties like this. Once at this tournament, and I believe it happened in the Netherlands game at Euro 2024 as well. So, yeah, can't really complain about it. And very unfortunate. I think Raul Jimenez is that 12 consecutive penalties. Is it 13 for Mexico that he scored? A great record for him, and really gave them a chance. From there, I thought we'd given ourselves too long to sit and defend and sit in a back five as we did. We completely changed the shape. We went into a 5, a 3 and a 1. The midfield 3 stayed compact. Gordon sort of off the left, Bellingham right, Rice centre, Kane middle, and they almost sort of had like a diamond shaped. But you really didn't see too much shape from England when they had the ball. When England won the ball back, and brilliant as they were, in terms of their defensive work, back to the wall job, but really didn't and couldn't do anything with the ball, and didn't really show anything from that point on in terms of our football particularly. I think once we got into our shape, though, that Mexico really played into our hands. They kept pumping crosses into the box, and most things were, cleared away by, if not Dan Burn, then someone else. Perhaps didn't expect Dan Burn to be used at this tournament, but this is why you have 26 players and a range of different players, and skill sets. I know Harry Maguire was someone that people wanted to see go to this tournament. He would have done a similar job, but can't fault what Dan Burn did. But they took off Quinones and they took off Mora, and I was a little bit surprised. I think that meant that they didn't really break through England. They were. I talked about the crosses that Alvarado put in earlier, and they really were spamming crosses into the box. And they had no luck. There were 11 minutes added on. The referee played over 12. I think if the ball kept going out for a corner, I think that referee might have just kept letting Mexico take them all night long. But yeah, we got through it and we got the job done. It was interesting. Tuchel made some comments about the referee. He said that the first referees were not good enough. Now, there's been some comment to sort of say, well, actually, I think most of the decisions in the end, you would have to say that they were all correct. The 2 penalties, the red card in particular, the major decisions. But it's interesting that he said the first referees. It's almost like the VAR had to intervene. So he's saying that even the things that went against England, you were really poor on, and you should have given them first time. But I don't think he is actually saying that. But you could make an argument for it. Actually, it took the VAR to get to those decisions, and maybe the referee wasn't as strong as he needed to be. As I said, don't think that was Tuchel's point, but I do think what he's trying to do there is have like a bit of a siege mentality, and an us against the world kind of thing. That can work for teams, and maybe that's what he wants. But yeah, I don't actually agree with that. I think Tuchel got everything else pretty much spot on though, and it was just we've seen so many times with England where you're up against it and it's difficult conditions, the altitude, the home crowd, the atmosphere in the Azteca, which I've said before, to see a World Cup game at the Azteca, the opening ceremony and the opening game at the Azteca is really special. I'm such a huge fan of the 86 World Cup, the 70 World Cup, and yeah, it is iconic. And the conditions for England with that crowd and the altitude were really difficult. And to see England come through that and fight so hard, and but also show quality when we needed it, particularly in the first half, was just so good to see and so good to watch. As I said, it was a surreal night, and yeah, I was trying to think back to like strange sort of football experiences or England experiences. I thought back to England Nigeria and England Brazil, probably slightly more Brazil at the 2002 World Cup. I think that was a 7 a.m. kickoff in the quarter-final. So that was strange, kind of, watching football at that time. But I can't really think of too many others with England. I think watching the Euro 2020 final, as we were coming out of lockdown, I watched it outside in the rain because we were still sort of trying to social distance. That was weird, but that's a sort of another story. But this has got to be in the top one, this England-Mexico game, for strange, surreal experiences while watching England. But this is what we do it for. And yeah, it was weird, and I was watching it on my own. Messaged a couple of friends at certain points, but so some hugely important sort of moments from individuals that I should talk about as well. Jordan Pickford, I'm a huge fan of his. I've gone on record as saying that I think Jordan Pickford's the greatest England goalkeeper of all time. I've been laughed at, I've been mocked, I don't really care. I think what he's done at several tournaments with several big moments has been amazing, and he made 2 really outstanding saves in this game. The first one from Raul Jimenez at the near post down into that bottom corner is truly superb. And the other one where he tipped it just underneath the crossbar as well. A really, really smart stop. Some of his claims in the dying stages, some punches to relieve the England team was just brilliant to watch. And settled my nerves down. There were just moments in that last 10 to 15 minutes where it was just like, it was hard to watch because Mexico were just coming at us, but he did superbly well. So shout out to him. I'd mentioned Anthony Gordon. I thought he worked really hard. I thought he was, brilliant in terms of his running, in terms of committing people. Harry Kane led the line really well, comes up with big moments like he does. And look, there were loads of good performances, but my God, Jude Bellingham is he is some player. I said to a few of my friends recently as well that I think when his England career is done and you come to name your England all-time 11, Jude Bellingham is in that as well. I think he's so special. There's a moment in the second half where my jaw sort of dropped, where he just tried to dribble 3 defenders and he got away from all of them, and he just actually overshot the last bit to get into the sort of in behind their defence, and he was cut off. But there's little sort of moments, and I don't want to say this and say he's exactly like this player or say he's as good as, but he's Zidane-esque in terms of how he flows and moves, and I just love watching him. He worked so hard. He was brilliant in and out of possession. And 2 just big moments. I think he's got 10 England goals now, and 7 have come at major tournaments. Come off the hour, come off the man, as they say. A real special one from him as well. I'm so pleased. The next game is going to be really difficult. I really enjoyed the Brazil-Norway game. I'll talk a little bit more about England and Norway in the coming days. But for now, just to sit and enjoy what England have done, and really proud of the boys. And I would hope we can get through Norway. But even if we can't, this will be a game that I will remember for a long time, if not forever. Not because this is one of the greatest sort of wins of all time or anything like that, but for England, there was something quite special about it. It was a special atmosphere, as I mentioned, a special game, and I really enjoyed it. So long may it continue, and there'll be more to come when it comes to England, and I'll give you more updates. I'm back home now, so there'll be more updates, more World Cup chat, and let's go England.